They came looking for gold and left with a town that eventually quit being a town. That's Madrid, Maine. Not Madrid with museums and traffic and a capital city swagger. This one sits on Route 4, tucked into Franklin County, where the Sandy River keeps its own counsel and the pines stand around like they've heard every rumor twice. In 2000, Madrid did something almost mythic in its ordinariness. It voted to disincorporate. It stepped off the Civic map. It gave up the paperwork of being itself. This is Drive-Thru Towns. I'm your host, Andrew Wilcox. From the road, Madrid looks like a place that forgot to make a scene. A rural line of trees, old fields, a few buildings with that weathered, sun-peeled look that says nobody's been in a hurry here for years. The Appalachian Trail slips through the northwest corner, which is fitting because this is the kind of place you pass through thinking you understand it, and then it keeps walking on without you. But the quiet is deceptive. Madrid was once loud with machinery of hope. In 1854, Madrid became the site of Maine's first gold strike. Not a California-style delusion with wagons and fever dreams and fortunes stacked like kindling. This was Maine. The gold was real, but it was never enough to build an empire. It showed up in stream deposits, in small quantities, in the stubborn trickle geology allows when it's feeling charitable. That matters because the myth of gold changes the place even when the gold does not. Prospectors arrived. Attention arrived. Expectation arrived with muddy boots on. And then reality did what reality always does in small towns built on big rumors. It trimmed the dream down to size. Madrid's real engine was never gold. It was timber, milling, and the everyday carpentry of survival. Sawmills worked the water. Lumber moved. Carriage making took shape in a village that had learned how to turn a river into livelihood. Now, this is the part people miss when they hear gold rush. They imagine one commodity, one drama, one lucky break. Madrid was more complicated. It was an economy of elbows and calluses. Families, like my family, made things. They repaired things. They taught other generations how to repair things and make things. They cut boards, hauled wood, kept animals, and passed the whole arrangement from that one generation to the next like an heirloom. Nobody wanted, but everybody needed. Thank you again to Eldon and all those old boys who taught me a lot through the generations. The Hinckley family appears again and again in the local memory of Madrid, not as a single legendary founder, but as a kind of human lattice work holding the place together. Miller Hinckley, in particular, stands out in the town's inherited history, less as a marble statue and more as the sort of man whose descendants remember the exact slope of the land he worked. That's how towns like this survive for a while, not through spectacle, through repetition. Even the name has that half-serious, half-accidental energy to it. The town was nearly called Purim, but that name was already taken elsewhere in Maine. So the community chose Madrid instead, reportedly in honor of Spain's role in the Revolutionary War. Locally, it was pronounced Madrid, which feels right. A little clipped, a little defiant, not elegant, exactly, but sturdy, like Maine people. Names matter because they're the first fiction a place tells about itself. Madrid's name suggested grandeur. Its economy suggested lumber. Its future suggested work. And like so many rural towns, it lived in the space between what it sounded like and what it could afford to be. The gold, meanwhile, never became a machine. That's the central disappointment here. There was gold in the river, yeah, enough to intrigue, enough to encourage, not enough to transform Madrid into a mining kingdom. So the town kept doing what towns do when the miracle falls short. It leaned harder into the practical: mills, farms, trade, the kind of labor that doesn't inspire legends unless you're willing to listen closely. And then, over time, the market shifted. Timber industrialized, production moved, bigger hubs swallowed the work. The hum that had once justified the place got farther and farther away. That is the real geographic mistake of Madrid. Not that it existed, that it existed in the wrong scale for the modern economy. By the late 20th century, the population had thinned. Civic life got fragile. In 2000, Madrid voted to disincorporate, citing apathy and a lack of residents willing to serve in local government. That's a devastatingly plain sentence for such a rare event. It wasn't a flood or a fire or a mine collapse. It was just fatigue. Administration ran out before the town did. There's something almost funny about it if you tilt your head just right. A place survives gold rumors, winter, hard work, isolation, and the long boredom of rural decline, only to be undone by the same problem that defeats so many committees. Nobody wants to run the meeting anymore, but the humor's dry enough to powder your throat, because underneath it is a real civic surrender. Madrid didn't vanish. It became unorganized territory, which sounds less like a legal status than a diagnosis. The roads are still there. The land is still there. The old family patterns still echo in the local memory. The trail is still there too, with Appalachian hikers threading the northwest corner like patient ghosts in better shoes. That's the haunting part. The modern town is not a ruin. It's a reminder. A place where the old economy has been thinned down to memory, where the gold never paid off, and where the civic identity itself eventually packed a small bag and walked out. You can still stand in a place like Madrid and feel the old logic in the ground: river for milling, forest for lumber, soil for survival, gold for rumor, and now, in the present tense, silence for company. Madrid says something bigger than Madrid. It says American towns are often built twice, once by labor and once by belief. The labor is the sawmill, the field, the winter road, the family that keeps the light on. The belief is the promise that something more is coming: gold, railroad, industry, growth, or just the next thing. And when the promise breaks, a town can keep going for decades on just muscle memory. But eventually the ledger arrives. Eventually the population thins. The office is empty. The volunteers disappear. And the town has to decide whether it is still a town or just a place where people used to agree to be one. Madrid made that decision out loud. So if you drive past it now, don't mistake the quiet for emptiness. Madrid is one of those places that proves a town can lose its gold, lose its industry, lose its incorporation, and still keep its shape in the land. The river still runs. The trail still crosses. The old names still cling to family memory like burrs on a coat. And that's the last hard thing about it. The most permanent thing Madrid ever made was not wealth and not government and not even a rush. It was a habit of being there. Then, one day, even that got too expensive to maintain. This has been Drive-Thru Towns. I'm your host, Andrew Wilcox. A special thanks to Chloe Jones for providing our music. If you enjoyed this journey, please follow the podcast to stay updated on all our upcoming episodes. To keep the conversation, you can connect with me on Instagram at 50 State Family. Find me on LinkedIn under Wilcox Legal, or reach out directly via email at wilcoxlegal@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in on Season 3 about Maine, and I'll see you on the next road in the drive-through towns of California.
'Cause I was wandering free on an American dream with a million things to see and do. But it's all good, I'm fine. Had the time of my life, 'cause I did it all.